So in the last video, which you can watch here, I say here, but supposedly there'll be a tab link on the screen somewhere or other. Anyway, I was talking about hikikomori, or failure to launch, which is a term I don't really like much, so I prefer to call it delayed transition to adulthood. These are young people who have aged out of adolescence, but are having a hard time taking on the independence of adulthood. Didn't we all? And my focus in these videos is on the parents and how they're often doing things that are supporting the stuckness more than the moving forward. They pay for everything, they make all the meals, they vacuum the carpets, and generally act like the household staff. It's like Downton Abbey. And it feels like they're being good parents. You know, look at all the work I'm doing. But they're making it easier for their son or daughter to stay stuck and harder for them to move forward. So if you point out all this great stuff they're doing, they'll often say, yeah, but I just can't abandon my kid. And I will say, good, don't. Let's give them the support they need, but maybe in a different way. So in this video, I'll give you some examples, but these can't just be, applied at random. It all depends on some specifics of the situation. Okay, rent. I'm not in favor of free rent. At Holiday Inn, kids stay free. Adults pay their way. Home should be the same. I don't think it's good for anybody's self-image to get an entirely free ride. But the young person may not have a job, so they can't pay anything close to market rate, even if it's $20 a month. I think it's better than nothing. But where are they going to get that $20? Maybe they have to mow lawns, or rake leaves, or shovel snow. Well, that may not be so much fun, but that's why we start looking for better jobs. Groceries. Same idea, really. Kids get breastfed. 25-year-olds don't. People should be buying at least some of their own food, but, families differ on this. One thing I see a lot of is parents who are going out of their way to buy special foods that their son or daughter wants or likes, even if they don't really approve. They keep the place stocked with chips or pizza pops in the fridge. Now, maybe you feel you want to buy enough nutritious food that nobody starves. Wonderful. Oh, but he's 25 years old. He should have chips if he wants them. I couldn't agree more. The store's over there. He can buy them. Prepared meals. It makes total sense that if somebody is cooking, they can make enough for others without really a lot of extra work. But it does not make sense to have 3 able-bodied people in a house and either 1 or 2 of them get stuck with all of it. Grown-ups can feed themselves. I always think that every 20-year-old should be given a test to see if they can cook 5 standard basic dishes. If they can't, the parents get a fine because they weren't doing their job. I really ask people to think, if you've got someone at home who isn't going to school and isn't working, are they at least learning how to cook? Because that will benefit them in the future. And this is a big area where you can actually add care and support. You can share some of the dinner duties with them as the sous chef learning how to make some basic stuff. Now, don't worry about gourmet. Gourmet is not necessary. Spaghetti is necessary. Chicken is necessary. They can get fancy later. This is where parents often say, well, yeah, great, but they're not going to do it. Yeah, so I'll have to do it for them. No, that's when you get takeout for one. And if they're not cooking for you on their night, why are you cooking for them on yours? Oh, and nobody, by the way, is getting room service unless they're sick. Okay, Wi-Fi. Often both the parents and the son or daughter agree that the internet has become something of a problem, maybe for everybody in the house. It can be addictive, and it may be disrupting somebody's sleep cycle. Well, often we can get a joint plan for this, like, for example, a timer system, so that the Wi-Fi actually shuts off sometime in the evening and boots back up in the morning. Okay, computer supplies. Well, sometimes a computer is absolutely critical for school or for work. Sometimes it's only used to isolate. But the young person is an adult. They get to decide what to buy with the money that they have earned. Parents often decide that they'll support other things, but they're not going to buy computer games, and they're not going to fund online gaming. They also may not fund a high-end computer. They're willing to fund a basic one. If their offspring wants something, more elaborate, wonderful, they can contribute the money and upgrade the type that they buy. How about the phone? Grown-ups pay their own phone bills. But some parents say, they're just not happy with the idea of their adult daughter, or sometimes son, not having a phone in case of emergency. And they don't have the money of it for their own. Absolutely fine. I'll ask what the most basic phone costs and what a basic talk and text plan costs per month. And I will suggest, totally agree with you, fund that. And that's what you want to ensure that they have. If they want a more expensive phone or a more expensive plan, that's totally fine. They can fund the difference. They can add that on. You'll still fund that basic amount. Credit card. It's still, I have to admit, it still stuns me, but parents are often furious. My kid is so irresponsible with my credit card. What? Like, how do they know your credit card number? Well, I gave it to them. Okay, and when they misuse it, what happens? Nothing. Like, can you think of any solution to that? No. Really? Like, really? Can you cancel your card, for example, and not give them the new number? Oh, that's so inconvenient. Is having somebody else running bills up inconvenient? Right? They might not have the credit card rating to get a credit card of their own, at least not one with a high limit like mine. Well, no. That's why we work to get a credit record. Well, what if they run it up and they can't pay? Well, they'll have to pay it off in installments. Oh, that'll give them a bad credit record if they miss an installment. Well, yeah, so they won't get another credit card for a while, and the problem is solved. Okay, the car. It's totally reasonable to loan your kid the car if they're responsible with it, At least I think so. But if they have a DUI, they're going to have to buy and insure their own car. They're not going to go kill somebody with yours. If they're great with your car, fine, but cars don't run themselves. If they're driving grandma to her appointments, you pay for the gas. If they're driving themselves, they pay for the gas. And this is where cranky old guy comes in. When I was growing up, the thought that my parents might actually buy me a car, it never entered my head. It was not a stressful thing because it genuinely never occurred to me. Right? It simply was not going to happen. I'm a big advocate for funding the basic, unaffordable essentials. But a car is a luxury. It's one that's desirable enough that people are willing to work to get it. That's the carrot that gets me moving. Laundry. It makes good sense that if you're doing whites, you might as well do everybody's whites. But it also makes sense that if you're tall enough to see the controls on a washing machine, you're tall enough to do your own laundry. Mommy should not be doing that. Do not insult an adult by treating them like an infant. Cleaning. When you get your own apartment, you have to be able to vacuum and clean up and scrub toilets. Imagine how hard it would be if you had never done any of these things. I know young people who have their own bathroom in the house, and mom is down there scrubbing it for them. No. The question to ask yourself is, would you be doing this for your roommate? If not, then why are you doing this for your roommate? Because that's what you've got. They are not your child. There is no child. Courses. Now, sometimes people say, well, they have no money. And around here, their first job is probably going to be, I don't know, construction or something. A first aid course would help, but they can't afford it. That's when you pay. You help with courses. If they sign up and don't go, then the course is on them. They have to pay it off, right? If they go, it's on you, or partly on you. And maybe you're able to help support them for part of post-secondary. Not pay for everything, but help. And maybe give a break on the rent at home while they're in classes. Outward extras. A lot of young adults starting out are pretty restricted and isolated, and parents are funding the isolation. Computers, game consoles, and so on. What would it be like to be available to support or fund things that move them forward, not backward, outward, not inward? Kayaking lessons, snowshoeing, clothes that look good in a job interview, outward bound, camping gear, almost anything that expands their world rather than helping it stay small. Now, I'm not suggesting that you spring it on them. Hey, look, I bought you the ice skates that you never actually wanted. No. But if they are interested in looking outward, you might be able to help. Failure to launch. Think about that term. What's your role? Some parents, out of no fault of their own, are stacking up the disincentives to launch. They're functioning as the guy wires holding a hot air balloon to the ground. That's not what we want. If we're hoping for launch, then you are the launch pad. You're helping push up, not hold down. Oh, but I want the motivation to come from them. Lovely. Is it? If not, it may be important for parents to look in the mirror and ask, are you doing things to keep your young person at home and dependent on you? Are you making it so that moving forward in life and away from you and caring for themselves is all a negative, because it would mean giving up all the help that you're giving them to stay dependent? Oh, but I want them to discover their passion. We don't get our first job because we've discovered our passion. We get our first job to pay the rent and maybe buy beer and be able to meet people and maybe own a bedroom that doesn't share a wall with mom and dad's. And often what holds us back is the fear that we do not have the skills to make it on our own. We don't know how to feed ourselves, or work a washing machine, or manage a budget, unless we've already done it and screwed it up and fixed the problems that resulted ourselves. What holds us back is that no one has treated us like an adult with adult expectations. If you're going to launch, it helps to have a launching pad, not an anchor.